couple big things about the resurrection that I want to remind us of before we get into the benefits that we receive from it. First, these are not on your note card. These are just bonus items, okay? Here's the first one. The resurrection of Jesus Christ is not a return to the old, but the revelation of something absolutely new. Any reality TV fans out there? A few of us, right? Bored on a Saturday, nothing to do, right? My father-in-law is one of those, and YouTube is like one of the greatest gifts to him in retirement because he spends a ton of time just traveling through the YouTube channels looking for restoration channels. These are guys who can take anything, old tools, old cars, old pieces of furniture, and he takes them and they take them from a decrepit old state and they restore them to their former glory. And we can be tempted to think that that's what the resurrection was. Oh, that God was taking the bloodied and beaten body of Jesus and restoring it to health and wholeness. But that's not what happened in the resurrection. The resurrection is not a return to the old that is prior to the crucifixion, but it is the revelation of something absolutely new. It is the revelation of the glorified Christ. God was not doing repair or restorative work. No longer would Jesus be subject to corruption, subject to sorrow, subject to suffering, or subject to death. He would enter into eternal life in the qualitative sense. That is, the quality of his being was now eternally glorified. He is above death. Death can no longer reach him. He is the resurrection and the life. He is the living one. In the Gospels, we have what are known as revivifications. I know it's a fancy word. We have stories of Jesus bringing dead people back to life. Those are not resurrections, those are revivifications. What I mean is, in the story of Lazarus in John 11, Lazarus would be brought forth from the tomb, raised and revived back to life, but he would suffer and die again. Jairus' daughter, the servant daughter in Luke 8, she too brought back from the dead, but would only suffer and endure death once more. Jesus' resurrection, death was completely swallowed up in victory. The corruptible put on the incorruptible, and the mortal is now dressed in immortality. Second thing we need to remember about the resurrection is that Jesus Christ is the firstborn of the dead. Any firstborn kids in here? I am. It's awesome. Yes? It's fantastic, right? I know. I've got a firstborn myself, and I know that as a parent, you get all your mistakes out on that first one. Right? It's like the trial and error kid. But what does it mean to be first? What do we mean when we say, as Paul says in Colossians, that Jesus is the firstborn of the dead? Two truths should come to our mind when we think about the firstborn. It should be priority and preparation. Priority and preparation. When we mean priority, we mean that Jesus is the first among all those that will follow his resurrection. I remember my first airplane ride. I had it when I was 25 years old. I was a new young pastor. I had just been ordained in October, and I was going to fly to Georgia, across country, for a conference with my mentor and lead pastor that November. And I remember my first experience of waiting to get on the plane and how anxious I was. And so I was really tuned in to everything they said. I mean, I watched the whole emergency instruction preview, and I was attentive, and I didn't understand why no one else was watching. But I remember before I got on the plane, I remember looking at everyone line up, and there was a particular class of people that got on the plane before me. You know which one I'm talking about? The first class people, right? I mean, I've only ridden first class one time in my life. My aunt was gracious enough to buy me a ticket. We went to a playoff game, and she wanted to go in style after she recovered from breast cancer. And so she bought first class tickets for us. But prior to that, I would always sit and wait for first class passengers to get on the plane. And while I would wait, I'd make up stories like about why they would need first class. Maybe they were a business broker making a big deal. Maybe they were a worldwide adventurer. I don't know why they were going to Savannah, Georgia as a worldwide adventure. But that's how my mind worked and has ever since. But in particular, what do first passengers get? They get all the privileges. They get on first. They get the most amount of legroom. They have priority. When we think about Jesus as the firstborn, he is first class. He is the first, best, and most. He gets all of the privileges. He gets all of the blessings that come with being first. Colossians 1 will tell us that he is the highest and best. He is the centerpiece of all of creation. Additionally, we could think of Jesus being a preparer in his resurrection. Not only is he firstborn, and that means priority, but he's also the firstborn, and that means preparation. Jesus has prepared the ways for those of us that will follow him in the resurrection. We could use a word to describe this. Jesus is a trailblazer. Definition of a trailblazer is a person who makes a new path, opens a new way, or pioneers in a particular activity or area of life. Originally, it would refer to someone who blazes a trail through unfamiliar wilderness, marking trees or clearing a path to make it easier for others to follow them. We live in one of the greatest stories of trailblazing in our part of the country. Anybody know what it was? Played a computer game in 5th grade? The Oregon Trail, right? Full of trailblazers. What were they doing? They were cutting a new path through the wilderness in order to make others behind them their path easier to follow. We think about examples of great trailblazers. In science, Marie Curie was a trailblazer in chemistry and physics. In technology, we think of Steve Jobs in personal computing and communications. In civil rights, we could think of Rosa Parks as a trailblazer of the civil rights movement. Well, if we think about humanity's suffering under the penalty of death, Jesus Christ has made a new path. He has opened up a new way of life, and he has cleared the road for us. He has prepared the way for a future resurrection for all those who are united to him in faith. This means that death is swallowed up in victory.